Welcome to the match preview / tactics talk for Leicester versus Plymouth. Sam, obviously you weren't at the game against West Brom, but obviously I don't know if you watched it, and it was a good win. But again, there's been moments where you'd probably say it wasn't the greatest performance, but 3 points is 3 points.
I watched the highlights, and I think it's safe to say we won because they wanted the 3 points, and then their last minute push everyone up top for a corner cost them. But you take the wins. We drew to Wednesday, which was a bad performance. First away game for myself, and we go and draw to bottom of the league. That's always great. But it is what it is. You come back, you beat West Brom, which again, you probably said, well, if it was the other way around, if you beat Sheffield Wednesday and drew to West Brom, you would have been happy. Yep. So the results for me, it is what it is. We got probably 4 points out of what I would have predicted of 4 points anyway, just the other way around. So it's fine. We've got to move on to Plymouth, who are doing okay. They got a very good striker in Whittaker, I think that's his name. But they're a team to be beaten, really. They're like 15th, 16th. Every team now, up until Boxing Day, when we have to face Ipswich, are very beatable and easy games.
The next 4 are all in the second bottom half of the table.
Yeah, they're all teams that we should really be beating, and Plymouth is a good place to start and really, keep up the points, because you never know. If we draw to Plymouth and Ipswich win, that's them ahead of us, and we really need to keep that gap. I know it's only 1 point gap, but we need to keep inclining that gap and increasing that different level against them, because we really should, and we shouldn't really be dropping any points in the next 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, again, guys, make sure to comment your views whilst we get into the video, but make sure to get all your comments in.
Leicester Fan TV presents a variety of content, live fan discussions, match analysis, and engaging with Leicester fans worldwide. We want your views live. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, and the Foxes, Arms and Rainbows. We are live in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So, Sam, straight into the team then for Plymouth tomorrow. What is your take on this? Is there anyone you'd probably see change? Obviously, there's a few players.
It's been a good resting period now, where I think that the fully fit 11 should start. There's obviously a lot of games coming up, as we've heard Enzo say. There's a lot of games to face, but I think I said to you, I don't think I've said this on in public yet, that every team we have to face is also playing the same amount of games that we are. So the fact that we've got this immense depth and quality of players, we should be able to keep up. The fact that we have to play 2, even 3 games within a 5, 6, 7 day period really shouldn't affect us, because we're the team that should be able to manage the fact that we've got these games. When we play a team like Plymouth after facing 2 away games in the space of a week, it should be, well, Plymouth have just done the same thing as well. So realistically, we should be able to keep up with them, and we should beat them. There's not really an excuse for how many games we have to play, because we should be the best team at managing our fitness and our depth.
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll get into the defence then, Sam. There's a few names that could be in contention. Obviously, Faze didn't. Did Faze feature against West Brom? I think he did, didn't he? After being assessed, ready for the game. So he's still back in there. And then you've got Cody, who could be a name to be mentioned. And who else? Maybe Suter, but again, he just always sits on the bench and does nothing.
Listen, it's one of those things where we know that the back 3, or the back 2 at least, is going to be the same, because it's worked. And it is, for me, again, Vestergaard and Fies, because they've both been solid. They've obviously got a lot of points. We've seen Cody, and he thinks he's done okay. But it's one of those things where we've seen it before. When you've got a winning team, you don't really change it. Those 2 in the back have been, arguably 2 of the best players in our season so far. They've been very crucial, especially Vestergaard. You wouldn't expect someone like him to come into the team and do as well as he has done after previous seasons. I know it's different caliber now being in the Championship, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. And for me, those 2, they've picked up the best amount of, they're doing well. Really,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to change it. I think you're going to agree with me for those two.
Yeah, I will put them in after, but I will ask you for the third centre back because I know you're not the biggest advocate of James Justin.
In this system, I don't think he's amazing because I don't think he's got the quality to be that covering. Because of the way we play, you've got to think it's really weird when you look at the system, how it's lined up now. You know that whoever sits into that right defensive midfield spot alongside Winks comes back into the right back role.
And that's where the left centre back goes
yeah.
into that left back role, which you'd think James Justin would fit that role over Doyle.
But he's always overlapping. He's always got someone else over him because it's 2-on-1 always on the left side. That's the style we play, that we just know that the left centre back role, because of the style we play, and Winks doesn't come back and cover him because he's staying in the midfield or he comes across the middle of the pitch. That spot's very open, and I just think Justin at the moment through injury, he's not been amazing at defending. I think he's a great player. Obviously, he's been out for a long time injury. I just think that recently he's been a bit shaky, but I'm still going to put him in because, again, there's not really anyone else going. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with him. I think he's a solid player. I just think at times he does get caught off guard, and whether that's because they've got a man overlapping or because he's still coming back from injury and he's still learning how to get back into the match routine. Who knows? He's still been a very decent player for me. And again, if Doyle was fit, I think you've got a bit of an argument on your hands who does start, but he's not. So
yeah, I will put my first two in as well. I'm going to put Vestergaard in. But I said this with Phil and last week against West Brom. And I don't know if it's because of set pieces or it's because of certain things that we do struggle with at the back. I put Suter in last week because of the aerial threat he can give. And someone like Justin, I just, like you say, at times he's not great at defending, where if you've got a big man in the back, he might be able to do it, which you've obviously got with Vestergaard already. But he might give you a bit more of a threat going forward when it comes to set pieces. So for me, I'm putting FaZe in on the other side because I want to see Suter start. And that's not because I don't want someone else to start, but I think maybe it's something different and maybe something a bit more of a threat going forward. Because we've seen Suter score loads when it comes to international. Yes, it might be to a lower nation that we've not really heard much about, but Suter for me would probably maybe impact the game in a way. I don't know. What's your kind of take on Suter at the moment? Because he's always sitting on the bench, but he's never getting featured.
He's one of those things. I think it's more, there's something with Suter that, again, we're just fans, so you never really know what's going on behind the scenes. I think there's something Enzo doesn't see in him, which is why he doesn't start. A bit of the same with Daka. It's tough because I think he's an okay player, and especially in the Championship.
He came from the Championship.
Yeah, I know. I don't think he's as amazing as Enzo rates him. Obviously, it's weird. I think he's an okay player. I think he's a good squad depth player at the very least for us. So you could see him feature, but I think because we played no games in a week, obviously when we play on Saturday, it'll be a week's time since we played West Brom. So the whole team should be back up to match fitness. I don't think you're going to see Suter feature. We've barely seen him feature this season.
Again, this is one where I don't know, as much as I know it won't happen. For me, someone like Suter just, I don't know, brings me a different style. And I don't think he was that bad last season. When we brought him in for that replacement.
I mean, listen, the whole defence was rubbish last season. Again, it's hard to judge about who was bad and who was good because every player in that team last season was poor. So same with Pies and Suter when they came in. They're both coming into a team that was losing, more so Suter because he came in January, and you know, when you're trying to stay in the Premier League and you're signing 10 to 15 million pound Championship players and let's be honest, in a Stoke side they're not very good. They weren't good last season. They're not good this season. The only reason I think we picked up Suter is because he had a pretty decent World Cup. So it's a shame that he doesn't get in the team. I think his market value now is valued at a couple million, which really shows what on earth were the board doing, spending 15 million when we're trying to stay in the Premier League. But that's here nor there. That's last season.
He was highly rated though in the Championship when we first bought him from Stoke.
I think he was highly rated because of the World Cup. I've heard a few Stoke fans. I've got a mate who's a Stoke fan that said he was a solid player, but again, he was in a team where the defense all around was bad, so it was really hard to tell if he was looking good against bad or if it was just, you know. And again, I think that kind of showed he's a decent player, but I think he was a good centre back against in a back four that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll move on to the midfield then, Sam. The first name I'll mention is obviously Ricardo Pereira, because from what we've heard and obviously what we know, he's out for this game. Who steps in this role for you? Because we saw Chowdhury step in the Winks role when he was out suspended. Now Ricardo's out. You obviously play Winks, but who plays on that right hand side?
I think it's obvious who plays. It is Chowdhury.
Okay.
Who comes into that again? When you look at the rotation, player for player, like for like, who's the one that comes in? For me, it's Chowdhury that comes into that spot. I don't think anyone's really got a complaint to say when you've seen him feature. He's obviously not played loads of games, but when he does play, I think people are, yeah, he's played well. Could see him start the next game, but if Pereira's out, that for me is Chowdhury in the defensive midfield spot.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you're putting Winks in there.
Yeah, I'll put Winks as left, and obviously Winks is one of the first names on the team sheet every week. And Chowdhury, again, if Pereira's out, I didn't even know he was out, to be honest with you. But Chowdhury comes into that spot. I think he's very solid against Plymouth. Really, like you said, someone like Hamza Chowdhury. This team so far, we should smash someone like Plymouth. Let's be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And as much as my first name is going to be Harry Winks, again, I'm going to go a bit, that's Hinks, not Winks. I don't know why I'm being a bit obscure today, because I've already put Suter in. And the other player I'm going to put in is Dennis Pratt. I think we need to start seeing a few of these players, because once we start losing players to AFCON with Daka, Kelechi, and Didi, there's going to be players having to play roles that haven't been playing.
Well, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of players that will lose to AFCON. I mean, how crucial they are is another story. We're going to see a lot of people be sold as well. Pratt, I think, could very easily be sold in the January window.
But all I've mentioned is at the start of the season and pre-season, we saw quite a bit of Pratt. He was in that attacking role where Ndidi was.
Don't get me wrong. I think he'd be a solid player in the Championship. I just think because he's been out injured, do you risk him going straight into the starting 11 in a role that, let's be honest, a defensive midfield role isn't quite his style? So for me, I can see why you've put Pratt in there, and I'd like to see him feature in the team at some point. But this is what I mean about our depth. When you've got players like Pratt, even Cannon and Daka on the bench that aren't really featuring at the moment, I know some of them due to injury, we should definitely be featuring them back into the team. I think it's a bit more difficult because we're trying to finish games off in the last 15 minutes. So when you want to bring on a substitute, it's hard to do so when you're losing 1-0 or you're 1-1 and you're trying to clinch the game. How crucial of it is it to make a tactical decision to bring on someone like Pratt when it might not benefit and it could come back and, people say, why did Maresca do that? So I understand why we've not done it yet, but I would like to see more changes, especially earlier on, Reedy, in games, to kill off games and get the extra goal.
Well, we have mentioned the last few games that the subs that we've either made not enough subs at all, in the fact that Enzo's not brought anyone until the 80th minute, or you've got a game where you brought on someone like Fatu quite early, but then not use anyone else. We've got to start either using all the subs we've got to impact the game as much as we can in the later stages, or you just don't switch it up because you're playing well. At the moment, for me, you have to make the subs.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Enzo, I think you have to be careful of what we say because Enzo is a new manager. So when some things don't go right, it's very easy to quick and say this was what Rodgers was doing, which I think some of his tactical decisions have been what Rodgers has been doing.
It's very samey, isn't it?
But then I come back to the thing of he's a naive manager in the way that he wants to play one style of football, but he's also, this is his first real managerial job. I know he had one chance in Italy, but he was barely there. He's played double the amount of games already with us. Yeah. So you got to accept that he will make mistakes. He's a learning manager. Not everyone's, is going to hit the ground running. He's obviously been given a massive job and opportunity to manage Leicester, a team that most people would say they come straight back up after being relegated. So I think, I think there's a lot of things he needs to learn as a manager, and hopefully we've seen it at times. Hopefully stuff does change, like say these subs a bit more rotating, and listen, we're 1-0 up against Wednesday, and we're not really killing the game off.
Chowdhury on to defend the game.
Let's not bring Chowdhury on when we're not killing the game off. We're holding on, and that just invites them to come and score. And they did score. They realised, well, they're defending the game. That was a Rodgers-esque move to bring on a defender, but is what it is. We're still top of the league, albeit by 1 point, but we are still doing the best and the best ever Championship start to a season, I do believe. So we move on, Reedy. We'll move into our midfield now, I guess.
Yeah, into attacking midfield. So obviously on the left-hand side, You got Malax and Mavandidi, maybe McAteer, because obviously he did move over there in the second half against West Brom. And on the right, you've got Fatu, someone like Atgun, McAteer again on that side. Who do you pick? Because, like I said, you mentioned earlier before the show that Mavandidi you're starting to not get to be a big fan of because he's not doing too great, is he?
We'll get into that now. Again, it's weird because Mavadidi's been signed for 10 million. I don't think he's been awful. I think he's been an okay player. I just think sometimes
he's not been consistent.
He reminds me of Harvey Barnes in the where's his football brain at?
Yeah.
What he does some things. It's like, listen, we know that you're a skillful player, but stop trying to take the man on. I think we saw it against Wednesday because I said I didn't really watch the West Brom game. But against Wednesday, I saw him try and take on their defender, and the amount of times he got tackled, I was like, listen, just try something different. He knows what you're going to do every time. And I know that's his style of football, but sometimes when it's not working, switch it up, look for the switch cross. But I still think he's a solid player. He still gets into the team for me. So I will play him as my left winger because I think he's a fairly good player. In this level, I'm to be convinced if he's the Premier League quality, but I do think he's holding his own decent enough in the Championship so far.
Yeah, I'll move to mine then. I don't know because we've said that there's no one to cover that role. Yes, you could probably put somebody out of position from the right to the left, but I just don't think they would fit as well. So again, for me, it has to be Mavadidi as much as I don't want to say him because there's just no other players. Last year when we had the likes of Harrison having been linked to us with Harvey Barnes getting a bit more competition, I thought that would be perfect because that means Harvey Barnes needs to perform better.
It was all but signed, wasn't he?
Yes, he was all but signed, and that's and that's where I think in the
where's he at now? Everton.
Yeah, in the January window, I think this is where we need to maybe get another position, another replacement for Winks if he gets out, or another winger who will take Mavadi's place if he's not performing well.
Yeah, competition's always welcome. I think Enzo sees that a lot in the way that he changes the teams around. I think Mavadidi is more of an open spot because one, I think he's doing okay, and two, there really isn't another left winger in the club. You say maybe you put McAteer or Atkin there, but they're both not consistent left wingers. So Mavadidi again, I don't think he's put a foot in wrong. I don't think people can really say he didn't play amazingly because I know he hasn't played amazingly, but I don't think he's been poor. You can't come away and say Mavadidi was poor because I actually don't think he has played a poor performance. I just think sometimes he puts in an average 5 out of 10. Yeah,
I agree. Right hand side then, obviously we have mentioned a few names that could be there. Are you still on the hype that McAteer is the man to play in that role?
So
he did score 5 goals at the start of the season and then got injured.
I am going to say this, and this isn't my favouritism over McAteer. I am putting McAteer into my team.
Okay.
This is your team, by the way.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's all right. I thought I'd just let you know before you get it confused.
Yeah, there you go.
I am putting McAteer, but this is purely based on the fact that I think Fatawu kills off the game better. I think when you see bringing him on in the 55th minute, his burst of energy against their defender will be chuffing after, trying to defend against our team. And when you bring on someone like Fatawu, who's got the pace and strength to take on his man, I think that he's going to open up the game a lot. I think McAteer's been okay. Obviously, had a great first few games and got injured. But I'm more basing it on, I think, Fatawu, a bit like, the Vardy Iheanacho, when he comes on as a sub at the moment. Again, I think it's been great when he starts, don't get me wrong. I just think against someone like Plymouth, we need to change it around and have the depth a little bit more to kill off the game. And this is me purely basing on, I know that we go to finish the game off in the final, half an hour, 15 minutes of a game. So we should have our best team on the pitch. And I think Fatawu, if he's fully fit for the last half an hour, 45 minutes even, he can kill off the game better than playing for the whole match.
I don't think McAteer is like the worst player.
No.
He's still good enough to play in that first 11. I just think maybe out of the two at the moment, I'd probably say Fatawu is probably at a higher quality level in a way.
I would agree that this is what I'm saying, but because of the fixtures and the depth that we need to swap around, we've got a lot of games coming up. I just think for me, it's more crucial to kill off the game with Fatawu at the end. Again, like I said, when you do the strikers, when we both said Jamie Vardy, he looks more lethal when he comes on off the bench than when he starts.
Yeah, I completely agree. We'll move into the attacking midfielders in a minute then. Let me just put my player in because there's only one choice for me. Again, I do completely agree with you saying that I do completely agree with the fact that he does have the same ability as McAteer, and I think McAteer could easily start. But I do think Fatih should be starting. Into the attacking midfielders, and Sam, we'll start with you. I don't think I need to ask who your left one is, do I?
No, I'm going to put Will Alves in there. Obviously, it's Dewsbury that's going into the, again, solid player, crucial.
Average at best. But
Sorry, Phil's giving us dirty looks. I do think he's a very crucial player, Reedy. He's been against West Brom. He was, again, the man that killed off. He got the goal and the vital pass to Winks. He got a goal and assist. And again, I think it just shows that he is definitely the man that's got to be in it. He probably is the first person that's on the team sheet. If he's not fit, he doesn't play. If he is fit, he does play. I don't think there's really an argument for it there.
I think the only other player that could probably be the first person on the sheet is Harry Winks. I think that's the only other person you could probably say. But who is your right side then? Because there's so many players that are just not performing in that role.
We have a fully fit team, and that central attacking midfield role, the second spot, I don't think anyone's really solidified themselves. And I think we see that in Enzo's choices. I've seen Cassidy start, Ndidi start, Atkin start, Fatawu start. And no one really has outperformed any other player. So it's kind of a loose cannon. If you wanted this is who I'm putting in Ndidi in there just based on experience. And in a weird way, he probably has been that best player. Again, Cassidy's, rubbish. Still,
Donkey.
No offense to him. I don't know if it's because he's young or... when you say young, there's players like Fatawu who are doing 100 times better than him, and again, just come in on loan, same as Cassidy. But Ndidi obviously moved from defensive midfield to attacking midfield. We all thought it was pretty weird at the start of the season, but he's looked fairly solid. And again, about the depth, if Ndidi doesn't have a good first 45 minutes, you can put Atkin on in that position. And I think Atkin is a pretty solid attacking midfield, but again, he looks better when he comes on off the bench.
Yeah, as much as I wish I could agree with you on Ndidi, I do... I've been saying to you this last week that we're playing positions playing players out of positions for me. Dewsbury isn't that. Don't get me wrong, he's been great, but I don't think he's the attacking-minded midfielder that we need. Like, he's trying to be a Maddison in a way, as much as he's getting the assists and goals. Someone like Ndidi just isn't that creative. Yes, again, I'll say that he got the assist for Dewsbury's goal at West Brom, but I don't know. He's not got the touch. He's not got the creative or the good pass to make that ball to get in the attacking third well for me to say that they deserve to be in the role, but I don't think there's any other players to be in that position. So Dewsbury does go in that role on the left. And then for me on the right, I'm going to put Atkin in again because I do think he is more creative than Ndidi at times. And I want to see more games of him because we only really see him when he gets subbed on.
I think the big difficulty of Atkin is he's already played half his games that we've got him.
But that's the problem. It's like...
And I don't think we've seen enough.
Are we really going to just not play him because of that? I don't think we are. I think if we need an impactful sub or something, if he doesn't start...
If it comes to it, I think we will. But I genuinely think he'll play the 24 games and that'll be it. They want 10 million for him, and the club are going to be like, is it worth signing him for 10 million? For me, so far, no. From what I've seen so far, I think he's been a good player. But if you asked me, should we sign him at the end of the season, I'd tell you no. Not. I think we've got better players. So, and from a club's point of view, I don't think they're going to want to spend £10 million on someone that's probably not going to play next season. They might think differently. I think he's been average in the Championship. I think he's been creative when he's come on. But I don't think I've seen him do enough to warrant signing him. And I think that 25 game mark is slowly creeping up. I think he's on about 13 odd games now. I think he's played for us. So it's one of those things where he's only got 12 more fixtures that he can feature in before we have to sign him, or 11 before we don't sign him. So I think it's one of those where how much are we going to rely on someone that's a loanee that we will guarantee sign if we play him for 25 games?
Yeah, and I think it all depends on who's playing well. Because like you said, he's not playing better than Diddy. There's not been any attacking minded midfield on the right who has solidified the position.
And Diddy, who we have on a contract, albeit for one more season, he is, again, he's not been better than Diddy. So for me, if Atkin was outperforming any other player in that position, you say, yeah, okay, keep playing him. If we have to sign him, we have to sign him. He's been the best player, but he's not. He's just not been outperforming anyone. If you ask me, I think he's looked one of the better attacking midfielders, but he's not looked better than Ndidi. He's looked better than Cassidy, but I don't think if you put Fatawu in that position and put McAteer on the right, I'd argue again, I don't think he's as needed as someone like Fatawi. So
I think you could put Cody in that camera on. I think he would do better than Cassidy, but that's just me anyway. Going to the striker position then, Sam. So many questions about when's Cannon going to start. Is Kell going to be good enough? Is Vardy ever going to do anything when he starts? Who do you start in this game? Because for me, it's clear as day. You just start Cannon now. Because for me, both strikers, when they start, they don't do well. The last 2 games, we've left them on the pitch for 90 plus minutes.
So I'm going to start Iheanacho. I know it's a weird one. For me, I want to see Cannon start, but he's not going to walk into the team straight away. I think Vardy, again, he's been more impactful from the sub bench, and Iheanacho's looked okay. Again, he's nothing amazing, but he has been creative at times. So for me, I'd start Iheanacho. Again, I'm not best pleased with someone like Iheanacho. I think his head's somewhere else and 1 foot's out the door already. But we've got him. He's here still. Let's play him. Again, Enzo clearly doesn't think Cannon's fit, but he's been on the bench for about 5 weeks now. So it's a bit concerning why he's not even featuring Cannon, because he signed him for 10 million, just under about 7 million, sorry. Mm-hmm. So you'd like to think that we should start to play him a little bit more. Considering really that Vardy's not been doing much and Iheanacho's not been doing much, why is Cannon not getting a look in? That's a big question.
I'd even say maybe Daka, but again, I'm not even going to go any further with that because we just know he's not going to get.
We've signed a new striker. Why is he not starting him? Why is he not even featuring him?
I don't understand why we're not even trying to put Cannon on the bench on the bench and use him for 10, 15, 20 minutes of the game.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to you. I don't think it makes sense to 95% of Leicester fans.
But the main thing for me about the strikers the last 2 games is we've left them on for 90 plus minutes of the game. The last 15 games we've played in the first half of the season, we've been making changes of the striker every game. The last 2 games we've drew and won in the last minute, not using that striker.
Well, here's a weird question. You might have seen Vardy do 90 minutes against Wednesday, Iheanacho do 90 minutes against West Brom. Maybe it's Cannon's turn to now do 90 minutes against Plymouth. Maybe that's what Enzo's doing.
Well, I highly doubt it. I'd hope so because that's who I'm putting in my team.
I would 100% agree with you that I'd start Cannon, but I just know in my head that there's no point putting him in there because he just won't start. I don't know why Enzo's not even putting him on as a sub, let alone starting him. So for me, if he doesn't come on against West Brom, or even Sheffield Wednesday, let's be honest, bottom of the league. We both said, if you're going to play Cannon, start him against Sheffield Wednesday, we're bottom of the league.
You might have actually won that game if you did that.
But we've not. But he scored 12 goals in 18, 19 games for Preston last season. So I don't know why we're not utilising him. If it's because they think he's still injured, then why is he on the bench? Yeah. If he's, again, there's no point wasting a bench spot. Because I could probably say to you, I think Daka's not been on that bench in a few of these games in the past month.
No.
So why waste the spot when, again, I would much rather see Daka come on and try and do something. I know he's not my biggest fan. I don't think he's amazing.
It's quality, though.
But I'd much rather see Daka come on and do something than an injured Tom Cannon just sit on the bench and keep it warm. But again, we don't know if he's fit or not. We don't know why he's not even coming on as a bench, really. I'd like to see him play. For all we know, he could start against Plymouth, but I think we're both very much doubtful that he will start, but I would agree that's who I would like to start as well because Vardy and Iheanacho haven't been hitting the ground running, but it is what it is.
Yeah, here are our both teams, guys, for the team for tomorrow. Make sure you get your views in, get your comments in. Sam, I'm going to quickly ask you one last question before we do finish. Score prediction for tomorrow. You're going to the game.
Yeah.
Phil's even said that it shouldn't be anything but a win, should it? So
no, these next games, like I said, we should win every single one of them leading up to Ipswich. These are the games where if you're not going to beat Ipswich, because I'm very doubtful the way we're playing at the moment that we can beat Ipswich. I could see us getting that big thumping against them, to be honest with you, because we've not been amazing in the past few games, but we've got to pick up those wins now to even out the playing field a little bit better because it's a 6-pointer on Boxing Day. Score prediction, I don't think we're going to come away without conceding.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
I do think we're going to win. We've looked okay. We look pretty shaky at times. I don't know which Leicester's going to turn up. Like I said, when we watch Wednesday play.
Well, it's going to be the same Leicester because we don't play any different.
Well, yeah, but when we played against Sheffield Wednesday, we looked bad. We didn't turn up to that game. So I'm hoping it's a completely different story. We'll see. I'm going to go 2-1 again. because I think Whittaker's going to score for them. I think he's looked like a very good player. And I think you'll see typical Leicester will probably score first. They'll score just after half time or late on for Plymouth, like you said. In the second half, they'll score. And then we'll get a goal in the last 10, 15 minutes and we'll come back and
same old Leicester.
Same story, isn't it? We left it late, but we still got the win. And that's all that matters really is the win. But if we come away with anything other than a win, even if we draw, I think a lot of fans, including myself, are going to be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah, I completely agree. Scoreline for me, I'm going to go for a 3-1. And I think you're right. I think Whittaker will score for them. I think he's doing quite well for them at the moment. And he's probably one of their best players. So, again, guys, get your views and get your comments in. But that was the tactics talk for Leicester versus Plymouth. Appreciate you coming on, and we'll catch you on the next show. See you in a bit, guys.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby. Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, Everards, Barlow Blinds, Pukka Pies, Car Leasing, Distillers Direct, Hollogram, Take Me, Newby Co, The Fox's Arms and Rainbows. Run by the fans, for the fans. Follow us on socials at Leicester Fan TV and visit leicesterfantv.com for all the latest news, views and videos.